is a flat model of the Earth's surface as seen from above. Now, there can be many different types of maps. There's geologic maps that show the layers of the rock underneath the soil. There's maps of the terrain under the oceans. The most common map is a map that shows the direct surface of the Earth, that shows roads and things like that. The kind that we'll be using most here in class is called a topographic map. And a topographic map shows the topography of the land, which is the contours, the elevations, and the valleys. Scale is a property on maps. Scale is the ratio of a distance on the map to a corresponding distance on the ground. Because the map is a model of the actual thing, it's not as big as the actual thing. So maps are a certain size smaller than the area they represent. Most maps are many times smaller than the area that they represent. And I'm going to teach you how to read the scale on the map to figure out how much distance on the map represents what distance on the ground. So in this example on top, 1 inch on the map equals 250 miles on the ground. And on the bottom one, 1 inch on the map equals 20 miles on the ground. Okay? So scale is important for understanding how big of an area that map represents. Degree. Degree represents 1/360th of a circle. And degrees are important on maps. If you look at the Earth as a circle or as a sphere, that sphere is divided up into 360 degrees. And depending on where you are on Earth, those degrees represent different distances. At the equator, it's one distance. At the poles, it's a much shorter distance. Okay, and we're going to be talking about degrees in terms of latitude and longitude, and I'll tell you what those terms are in just a second. Longitude. Longitude, this isn't written on here, but I'd like you to write it down for my verbal definition. Longitude lines are lines north and south of the equator. Longitude lines are lines north and south of the equator. So that red line there runs from the North Pole to the South Pole. You can think of it as running from one pinpoint to another. Okay? So those lines of longitude are, there's about, well, depending on the scale you're looking at. Degree lines, there's 360 of them. Okay? Latitude lines, on the other hand, are lines that run east and west of what's called the prime meridian. Lat is flat. If you remember that, you'll be great. So latitude lines run east and west, and they divide the Earth up into chunks that go north and south. Correct. So if you look at those lines, they divide the Earth up into chunks that go north and south. So there's latitude lines to the south of the equator, which is a latitude line. And there's lines of latitude that go north of the equator. The equator is called 0 latitude. Okay, so that's 0. And then you have 90 degrees north and you have 90 degrees south of the equator. You can imagine that as dividing the Earth up into something that looks like this. My Earth is way messier than that one, but you can imagine this equator line coming around here, and this line right here that goes down to the South Pole, if you imagine it, it's really 90 degrees. And this line right here that goes up to the North Pole, that's actually another 90 degrees. So that if you add them up, half of them, that's 180 degrees, or half of a circle. Okay, so latitude lines are measured relative to the equator, which means that you can have 0's the latitude line of the equator, and then you can have 10 degrees north, 10 degrees south, and so on of latitude lines. So here's
What's that sound?
10 degrees south. Here's a latitude line of 10 degrees north. So these latitude lines divide up the Earth into north and south chunks, so to speak. Okay?
Okay.
And here's another picture showing that longitude lines, long is up and down, lat is flat. Okay? Longitude lines go east and west, latitude lines go north and south. Okay? So I want you to know what the equator and the prime meridian are. So I want you to know visually in a diagram. I don't want you to have to spell it out in words, but I want you to know that the equator is the latitude line of 0 bisecting the Earth. And if you hear something that sounds important and you're wondering, should I write this down? Might be a good idea. Meridian lines, however, run, and especially the prime meridian. The prime meridian runs north and south, and it goes through Greenwich, Greenland. It's a town in Greenland, and it's just defined by the line that goes through Greenwich, England, and connects the North and South Pole. The equator and the prime meridian are imaginary lines made up by humans to represent our planet. The equator is halfway between the North and South Pole, and the prime meridian circles through both the North and South Poles and passes through Greenwich, England, not Greenland. Let's watch a short video on latitude and longitude.
Circumference is nearly 25,000 miles from start to finish. There are so many places on the Earth. How is it possible to precisely locate just one of these? For instance, what if I wanted to tell a friend the exact location of the Coronado Bridge in San Diego? It would be hard to describe. But give him the coordinates of the bridge, and you should be able to find it quite easily. To find precise locations, parallels of latitude and meridians of longitude form an invisible grid over the Earth. Latitude. Lines of latitude, also known as parallels, circle the globe from east to west. These lines are all the same distance apart, about 69 miles. Each degree of latitude is separated into smaller pieces called minutes. There are 60 minutes in 1 degree. Similarly, each minute is divided into 60 seconds. The equator lies at 0 degrees, halfway in between the north and south poles. There are several other unique lines of latitude. The Tropic of Cancer lies at 23.5 degrees north, and the Tropic of Capricorn lies at 23.5 degrees south. The part of the Earth that lies between these lines is called the tropics. It's known for its hot temperatures, heavy rainfall, and dense jungle. The Arctic Circle lies at 66.5 degrees north, and the Antarctic Circle lies at 66.5 degrees south. The area of the Earth between these parallels and the tropics is characterized by 4 distinct seasons. Longitude. The lines that run north and south are called meridians of longitude. These lines are measured the same way as parallels of latitude using degrees, minutes, and seconds. However, unlike latitude, lines of longitude are not equidistant from each other. Meridians intersect at the north and south pole. 0 degrees longitude is called the prime meridian. It passes through the Royal Greenwich Observatory in Greenwich, England. Using latitude and longitude, the precise location of San Diego can be written as 32 degrees, 42 minutes, 54 seconds north latitude, 117 degrees, 9 minutes, 25 seconds west longitude. Parallels of latitude and meridians of longitude form an invisible grid over the Earth. This grid is measured in degrees, minutes, and seconds, and it allows us to pinpoint exact locations anywhere on the face of the Earth.
Now, if you saw or heard something that you think was important in that, you might want to write it down. You might see it on the test tomorrow. Okay? Topographic map. Write this down. A map that shows the elevation differences of different regions in an area. Now, when you were reading the section on this, did everything make sense to you? Okay, that's just the general introduction. We're going to actually go outside with a topographic map pretty soon so you can get some practice doing topographic mapping. So a topographic map is a map that shows the elevation differences of different regions of an area. And I'm going to teach you how to read one of these. It's super helpful for you to read, especially when you get to 7th grade and you go to Yosemite backpacking for a week. You're going to want to know how to use a topographic map. Knowing how to use a topographic map can save your life. Knowing how to use a topographic map the right way will save your life and allow you to tell where you are and where you're going and where you've been. Okay?
Oh, wait, that's go back. No, I wasn't done. Okay.
Okay?
For regions,
So
oh, yeah.
you're going to, if you fall behind in the lecture, it's your responsibility to go online and look it up. Contour line is a line of equal elevation. Contour line is a line of equal elevation. If you don't know this, write it down. You might see it on the test tomorrow. So when you look at one of the lines on a topographic map, that line represents one single elevation above sea level. no two topographic lines or contour lines connect. No two contour lines connect to each other. And they all form a connected circle at some point. Contour interval. Contour interval is the distance between two contour lines. On the maps that we're going to be using, it's generally about 20 to 40 feet. So it's the distance between two contour lines. And it represents a distance, a vertical distance. Okay? A vertical distance above sea level or below, if you're below sea level, like in Death Valley, where they have the deepest area below sea that's on land that's known. Badwater in Death Valley is about 260 feet below sea level. It's also the hottest place on Earth. Okay, we're going to stop there. And this video will be posted online tonight for you to review.
Oh, you were recording?
I was recording it. So if you didn't get some of this and I went too fast, look at it online tonight.
Okay.